Welcome to Actuary Voices, the podcast series from the American Academy of Actuaries. I'm David Nolan, the Academy's Director of Communications. Today, our Executive Director, Mary Downs, is in conversation with Laura Hanson, a life actuary based in Minneapolis, who is Vice President Life on the Academy's Board of Directors.
Hello, everyone. We're here today with Laura Hanson, who is Senior Corporate Actuary with a life insurance company and also currently Vice President Life on the Academy Board and Executive Committee. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Mary. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're really excited to be able to talk to you a little bit today. I think that our audience will be very interested in your background and how you came to be more involved with the Academy than some other members, and what your personal story is. So maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself just to begin?
Sure. I grew up in the Minneapolis area, not far from where I live now. So I'm still close to family, which I absolutely love. So when I went to college, I knew I wanted to major in math because I really liked math and I thought it would set me up for a successful career. I went to the University of Minnesota, and back then, I'm not sure if it's still true today, but the credits you took above a certain threshold were free. So I took advantage of that rule, and I took a free art class every semester and ended up graduating with a minor in art. And I really valued having those art classes because I met a bunch of interesting people who think differently than me. And I really learned there that there's value in being surrounded with people who have diverse experiences. And so for that reason now, whenever I work on a project, I try to partner with people with different perspectives, different backgrounds, experiences, and skill sets, because those project teams really get the best results. So as I neared graduation, I was basically told, like so many of us were told, that a person with a math major had two options. I could be a teacher or I could be an actuary. And at the time, I thought being an actuary sounded incredibly dull. And so I pursued a career in education. But after a few years and a few jobs, I just hadn't found the right fit for my skill set and my personality. Thankfully, I had a friend from college who had been trying to recruit me to be an actuary that whole time. And one day, truly, I was so desperate, I figured I might as well give actuarial science a try. It was the best decision I ever made. My first day on the job, I was just so incredibly inspired by the actuaries that I met, and I just knew I was where I was supposed to be. My actuarial colleagues were smart, they were funny, they were interesting, and they were problem solvers. And one of them would even become my amazing husband. So I really took a wandering path to the world of insurance, but I'm grateful for that path because I've had some unique experiences and I learned different lessons along the way. But looking back, I can't help but laugh at how wrong I was about actuaries and the interesting work that we really do.
That is very interesting. I wonder if you might elaborate a little more on your background in art, only because we have talked to a few members in these podcasts who have also noted their interest in areas beyond math and how that has given them a different perspective. One of the things that I know is sometimes true, people expect actuaries to only be math people and that they don't have interests outside of that. And as you've noted, it has enriched your perspective and allowed you or encouraged you to talk to people from different kinds of backgrounds. How important do you think that is to professional development as an actuary?
I think it was incredibly important. When I first signed up for those art classes back when I was 18, I thought that they'd be fun. And I thought that they would provide me with some stress relief because I knew I'd probably be fairly stressed in college. And And that was true. And I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. And I don't want to minimize that. There's a lot of value in doing something that you love and having an outlet for expression, whether it's creative expression or, I don't know, uncreative expression. Just the ability to sort of contribute to the world and produce something, I think, is really important. And then the lessons I didn't expect to learn and the value that I got that I wasn't expecting was really, getting to know those people that were different from me and that had different values and wanted different things out of life. And since graduation, I've remained connected to the art community in a few different ways. I was on the board of the Minnesota Watercolor Society for a number of years, and really got to know, frankly, people that were different from me in terms of how they spend their time or maybe how they think, but also too, there was a pretty big age difference between me and the average watercolor society member. And so I got a lot of value in learning from people that were from different generations from me or that grew up in different times. And so all of those experiences have just really helped me recognize and appreciate the lessons that people have to teach me and to really do my best to be open to them and look for those lessons and look for those different people to try to seek out the insights that they can help with.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your relationship with the Academy?
Well, I first started with the Academy thanks to Dave Sandberg, who is a former Academy president and a very passionate and dedicated volunteer. Dave and I met when I was an actuarial intern. We worked at the same company at the time. And at the time, his office was being renovated. And so Dave was asked to sit with the interns in the intern cubes. And everyone who knows Dave knows that he's a really social guy. And he honestly loved sitting with the interns and mingling with us every day. I remember at the time thinking that Dave talked on the phone a lot. That was something that I observed sitting near him. And little did I know that I would one day follow in his footsteps and spend a lot of time on the phone myself. So my first experience volunteering for the Academy was working on annuity illustrations. And I got to work in a work group with Academy powerhouses like Barbara Lutzenheiser and Candy Olson. Barbara, of course, was a former Academy president, beloved by many actuaries. Sadly, she did pass away earlier this year. And Candy was a former Life vice president and is now a current board member of the Actuarial Standards Board. So Candy in particular really took me under her wing. She encouraged me to volunteer for other groups at the Academy, and she encouraged me to take on my first role as chair of an Academy work group. And so I'm really thankful for Candy and Dave and so many others I've met through the Academy who continue to mentor and support me today.
Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about your current work for the Academy and projects you may be working on that you think are especially interesting?
Yeah, throughout my career, one thing I've been really passionate about is consumer education. For most people in the world, finance and insurance concepts can seem like a foreign language, but it's so important that consumers understand the pros and cons of the choices that they're making. So in my early years, I spent a lot of time working on marketing pieces, illustrations, consumer disclosures, and policyholder contracts. And I really enjoy bridging the gap between the technical experts and the communications experts to help develop messaging that is accurate and understandable. And so I've been able to apply my passion for consumer education on a broader scale in my work with the Academy on a number of projects. Most recently, I got to help the NAIC Life Insurance Buyer's Guide as a member of the Academy Non-Guaranteed Elements Work Group. And in that project, members of the Academy Work Group collaborated with Brenda Cood and Carol Kitt, who are both NAIC consumer representatives. And we also collaborated with the regulators and the NAI staff who were charged with revising the guide. Throughout the project, Academy members provided their vast technical expertise, and consumer representatives provided their consumer expertise, and we were able to work together to create an updated and improved buyer's guide that was really just a great result. So, when I look back, the most fulfilling parts of my career have been projects that have helped improve consumer education, and a lot of those have been Academy projects as well.
So the NAIC is the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, and that is an organization that the Academy sends many volunteers to, and Laura has long been representing Academy committees and groups there. That suggests to me that we might benefit from knowing about your views on the Academy's independence and objectivity, and its emphasis on that with respect to the work of its volunteers and the projects that our volunteers do work on. Would you say a few words about that?
Absolutely. The objectivity and independence of the Academy are really the foundation of why the Academy is so respected in the industry. And it's something that I take very seriously in my volunteer work with the Academy. And it's something I've been really happy to see other volunteers take very seriously as we work together. And so when we partner with other groups, we are still representing the Academy. But there is a little bit of back and forth that can happen where, the Academy might recommend something and then a different group will respond, and we'll have a really, I think, healthy process there. And then ultimately, in the case of the buyer's guide, for example, end up with a really strong product that benefits from the expertise of the Academy and then the expertise of other perspectives as well.
How did you come to focus on life as your practice area, your actuarial practice area? And how have you found that in terms of your own fulfillment as an actuary?
Well, life insurance, working in life insurance is all I know. I was, as I mentioned, I had a college classmate who had encouraged me to try actuarial science, and he actually recruited me to the company he was working at the time, and that happened to be a life insurance company. So, I ended up sort of pulling the life card as luck of the draw.
Have you experienced any examples of professional challenges that you might want to share with the audience that might be helpful to them in their own journeys?
Yeah, I've been fortunate in my career to have a really wide variety of experiences. I've worked in product development. I've worked in financial reporting. I've worked for our wholly owned broker-dealer. I've worked on projects with marketing and operations and legal and distribution. And so I've really had this great variety of work that I've had the opportunity to do. And while there's a lot of benefit to having that variety in a career, it also means I don't have the same deep level of experience that actuaries have who have specialized in one area for a long period of time. So, sometimes it just feels like I'm lacking the same depth of knowledge as some of my other colleagues. But at the same time, it's impossible to be an expert on everything. And my role requires that I work on a variety of topics. So I do lean on my colleagues when I need support, and I learn from them as much as I can. Also, I've found that some people assume that I'm not a very technical actuary. And I've reflected a lot on those comments over the years. And, it might be that they're right in that I'm not technical and I've been mistaken about my skill set. It might be a function of the projects that I've worked on, since a lot of my work has been communications oriented, or because I haven't specialized in one area for a long period of time. Or it also might be a symptom of some implicit or unconscious biases that people have about me. A few times in my career, I have experienced unconscious bias firsthand. I've been told a lot, actually, that I don't look like whatever people think an actuary is supposed to look like, whatever that means. And as a result, when I travel to actuarial meetings and attend events where spouses are also invited, the people I meet typically assume that I'm the spouse of the nearest male actuary. And I know these people don't mean to be hurtful, and I'm sure if you asked them, they would readily agree that women make great actuaries, but for whatever reason, their default assumption is that I'm not an actuary. And when this thing happens one time, it's mostly just awkward for me and the male actuary I happen to be standing next to. But when it happens 5 or 6 times at the same event, it can be really demoralizing. And so these experiences have caused me to be really sensitive to unconscious biases of all kinds. Really try to think about and recognize and address the unconscious biases that I have about other people. And thankfully for me, my experiences have been limited to a few events or a few offhand comments over the years. But there are some people who face these types of assumptions, these hurtful assumptions daily, and some people face much, much worse. So, I think it's really important that we ask ourselves honest questions about the unconscious biases that we carry, just do our best to snuff them out, both within the actuarial community and in our greater communities. So, while I recognize that society has come a long way on certain issues of equality, my experiences serve to remind me that we still have some improvements to make, and in some cases, we still have a long way to go.
Is there anything specific to the actuarial profession that you think could be done to address those concerns about unconscious bias?
Well, I think one thing that I hear actuaries say a lot is that our profession is so specialized and that it's so important it's so difficult to hire because we, are sort of at the end of a long chain and we have a limited pool of people to pick from. And it's important that we find people that have the, sort of education and background that people perceive as being important for being an actuary. But I also think that we can be doing things as actuaries to really support the chain of events that lead up to that sort of final step when maybe we're looking to recruit or hire college graduates. I think actuaries can volunteer for local schools or local programs that help support often unsupported communities and really help them with their math and help them with their education in general. But I also think, too, we can maybe think a little bit differently about the kind of person that we think makes an actuary. I think we tend to have very sort of traditional notions about the kind of background and education that might be required to make a good actuary. And I guess I would question that a little bit and see if maybe there are other ways that we can reach out to different communities and bring in new and different perspectives to our actuarial profession.
Maybe you would share with us some of the challenges or issues that you foresee for the actuarial profession in the future and why you think those are what they are.
Obviously, big data and data analytics is a huge topic in the insurance industry right now, as the types of data used in insurance underwriting continues to evolve and the quantity of data that is available grows exponentially. And the insurance industry is grappling with important questions about that data, where it comes from, whether it reflects any bias, how it's being used, and how it impacts the public. Actuaries play a key role in these conversations because risk classification is a key actuarial concept, and risk classification is so fundamental to having a sustainable insurance marketplace. But still, these are important questions, and actuaries are problem solvers. And so I would like to see if actuaries can help to identify solutions while maintaining a sustainable insurance marketplace.
What do you do when you're not being an actuary? I know that usually we ask folks about their hobbies, and you're a very busy person. So why don't you tell us what you do in your so-called spare time?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I do have hobbies. I love to travel and read and fix up my house. In Minneapolis, we have a lot of parks and a number of beautiful lakes with walking paths. So I like to walk around those lakes as much as possible. And, as we discussed, I love art. So I like painting, I like looking at art. Um, but as you know, lately I don't have much time for any of these hobbies because I'm currently in my third year of law school.
And why did you decide to go to law school?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't always have a great answer, unfortunately. I've always been intrigued by the law because laws, at least to some degree, are a reflection of the values of a society. And I think that that's really interesting to study and understand and possibly change. Um, I think my interest in the law is a big reason why I'm in the role I'm in today. Following the activities of the NAIC just really merges my interest in actuarial concepts with the regulatory development process. But a few years back, I found a law school with a JD program that was designed for students who are already established in their careers. And the program uses a combination of online delivery and then really intensive in-person delivery for like a concentrated week at a time. And so as a result of that structure, most of my classmates live across the country and even abroad. And it also meant that I could continue to travel for work and not miss any classes. And so honestly, when I learned that I could attend law school and keep my job, there was just no question. I was sold. It feels like just yesterday that I was taking the LSAT, but I will be graduating next spring. It's kind of like they say, the days are long, but the years are short.
And are you focusing in a particular area of the law? I know in the beginning it's required courses, but when you get to your third year, you do have some choice about what areas you're more interested in than others. Have you focused in on some particular subject area?
Yeah, you're right. Those first few years, I didn't have a lot of choice in terms of the classes that I took. And I even had less choice than some students have because of this executive program that they put on. There were only so many classes that were offered in this format that I could take. But in summer and J term, and then now in my third year, I've really been able to, have some autonomy and ability to decide what classes I'm interested in taking. And I've just really tried to take classes that are related to the insurance industry. I took an elder law class a year ago, which was very helpful, not only professionally, but also personally, as I think about taking care of my parents in the coming years. I have taken a couple business classes. I'm taking estates and trusts this fall, which I think will be very interesting and relevant to the work that I do. And then in the spring, I'm taking administrative law, which is very connected to what we do in insurance because insurance is regulated by state agencies, and that law is really governed by administrative law. So I'm looking forward to that class, and I'll finish with that in the spring.
Do you foresee using your law degree in a particular way in your future career development? Do you intend, or do you know yet if you want to become a lawyer? Become a lawyer in a sense of being in a legal job for a company? We're aware of actuaries who have both law degrees and actuarial designations, and most have chosen to continue to be in an actuarial role. How about you? Do you know yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love what I'm doing now, so I'm not actively looking for a change. But if history has been any lesson and my training as an actuary has taught me anything, I can say that I don't 100% know what the future will hold. But I do know that I've already been applying what I've learned in law school to my work today. One thing they teach us in law school is how to make your case and really back up your opinions and conclusions with evidence. And this has been really helpful for me in my actuarial work, especially in my volunteer work for the Academy, when we write comment letters, to really focus on not just putting our opinions out there, but putting out the rationale behind those opinions to help people understand where those opinions are coming from. Another thing they teach us in law school is how to organize our writing in a certain way. And in doing so, the points that you are looking to make are made more clearly. And I've been applying those rules to my writing ever since I learned them. So yeah, I don't know what the future will hold, but I know I've already gotten value from, my law school studies beyond just sort of the general understanding of our legal system that I've also gained.
And do you see another professional degree in your future after law school?
That's a great question. We do joke in my household that when I finish my law degree, I will begin a study of architecture, but I am mostly certain that that is a joke.
Well, if it's not, we're going to wish you well and look for you to design some kind of building or structure.
Thank you.
That was the American Academy of Actuaries Executive Director, Mary Downs, in conversation with Laura Hanson, Vice President Life on the Academy's Board of Directors. This is Actuary Voices. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to our podcast on your preferred podcast platform and watch out for future episodes.